Hello, hello. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to the CT Tech Cheat Code audio series, episode 10. This is the last episode of the series. I am super stoked and just glad that you stuck with me throughout all these episodes, and hopefully, all the knowledge I have dropped in each episode and my talking points you can really apply to your CT training and just be a freaking badass. Okay. So, in this episode, we're going to talk about your next level. So, we're talking about certifications, pay raises, and becoming the go to technologist that everybody wants in their department. Now, once you have the skills, the real question is how far do you want to take this? Now, I know when you are in CT, you're trying to get those competencies and things like that and learning your core basic exams so that you can go ahead and sit for the registry. Okay. So, certifications, registries are very, very important because that's just going to make you more marketable because a lot of hospitals do require CT registries. Okay. So, I have an excellent video that I'm going to link in the show notes on a TikTok because I've been asked that question several times throughout my career on what should I use to study for the registry? I see it a lot on Facebook groups as well, is what should I use to study the registry? So go watch this video. I have some excellent resources. And these books that I suggest in this video, I highly recommend because those are what I use to study the registry. Now, I know people use other things like CT Bootcamp and, different types of other learning modalities. So use what's best for you. I'm going to tell you what I used that helped me pass the registry. I got an 87% on my exam. I mean, I know it's not great, but at least it was a passing exam. Okay. So let's dive into this, and I encourage you to go watch that video. Plus, I'm going to give you a little secret. The study resources that I give you in there, some of the questions from the registry are out of those books. Now, I cannot tell you which ones, but that is my one little tidbit. And you're saying, Karina, how do you know this? Well, for 2 years, I sat on the CT committee that goes ahead and develops these questions for the registry at the ARRT building. So, yes, I got flown in there. I was on a panel of different types of technologists with different types of experiences and things like that, and even a physicist that even sat in there in that committee as well. So it was a team of awesome people, and it was a great experience to put on your resume. And I enjoyed every experience of that. So if you want to volunteer your services, make sure you check those out. There's stuff with the ASRT and the ARRT. So I was part of the ARRT CT committee for a couple of years. So make sure you watch that video. Okay, so as far as, leveling yourself up beyond the beginner. So, we have specialties in CT. We do cardiac scanning, we do IR procedures, under CT. There's dual energy, there's trauma, there's more advanced imaging like spectral CT colonography. I know we're starting to do stuff with bronchoscopy. So there's different types of branches that you can get into. And I highly encourage you, once you nail down your basics, you know how to scan, start to dip your toes into these other things. Now, I know with trauma and dual energy, those are things that are incorporated into our day-to-day scanning. Make sure you really know those exams, okay? Now, for the other advanced stuff like cardiacs, I know a tech that I worked with that she had told me the hospital she worked at, they had 2 imaging centers attached to the hospital. And at one of those imaging centers, the scanner that they had, that all they did all day long 5 days a week was just nothing but cardiac scanning. So if you are looking to just do that, make sure you learn how to do that and perfect that. Okay. As far as IR, now I have an interesting story about IR. At one point in my career, I was approached to take a position. It was kind of like a hybrid position. So it was a CT/IR tech. So they wanted me to get a registry in IR and work in IR 50% of the time because I was so good at doing CT procedures with the IR radiologists in CT, they wanted me to transition and do these 2 modalities. Well, of course, me being a seasoned tech, I'm going to ask for a huge pay raise because I do have to take that registry. And they respectfully declined and said they were going to keep me at my CT rate. And I said, well, absolutely not. Then I don't want the position. Well, needless to say, they had to get rid of that position because nobody would fill it. So these are some tips that you can negotiate as far as pay raises and new positions and things like that, because there are a lot of multimodality techs and positions out there. So make sure you do your homework, do your research on pay scales for both. And then when you present, when they tell you, hey, this is the pay, you can negotiate from there, and negotiate new positions. If you only want to work 3 days a week, if you only want to work 4 10s or 5 8s or no weekends. Most of these positions do have call, unfortunately, unless you work on the outpatient basis where you don't do any weekends, you don't do any holidays, you don't do any call. So you have a lot of room to go ahead and negotiate. However, how you're going to expand that is to make sure that you have advanced modalities under your belt, have experience under your belt, and things under your belt so that you can be more marketable out there. And don't freeze up on taking that registry. Take that registry because that's going to help you. And if you can get another one, great, because that will make you very marketable. Me, yes, I do have registries in X-ray and CT. Could I have done more? Sure. But at this stage of the game, I'm actually looking to advance my expertise into another area. So, other areas that you can level up, you can go into management. I've done management. I did it for 10 years. I have to say that my management hat is done. Okay. And that is another discussion for another episode. So lots of people branch up into management, which is a good strategy and a good advancement. Lots of people go into education. Okay. That they teach and they love to teach, like myself. I love to teach. So, those are one of the aspects that I am pursuing is education. Okay. There's other areas that you can branch into. You can branch into the IT side of radiology, which, there's RIS, so the radiology information system. There is, PACS. You can go into Epic and become an analyst on the Radiant side. So that's the radiology side and do that. There are so many avenues that you can explore to do that. There was a technologist I knew a long time ago that went into research. Okay. So there are lots of avenues to explore. You just got to do your homework. Okay. Google is an awesome resource. Facebook groups are an awesome resource too, where you can get lots of information. So make sure you branch out and do those things. Okay. Now, how to become that tech. The one that they're always going to ask for is it comes with increasing your knowledge, your education, practice, repetition, and making sure that you know what you're doing. Okay. So, how do you do that? It's by trial and error a lot of times. It's by making certain mistakes and learning from them. It's by growing. It's by taking new challenges and saying, okay, how can I learn X, Y, and Z? Okay. Those are the most important things, how you can become that tech. Okay. I'll give you a perfect example. Some of the newer techs in my department, which are, a few, are not very confident when they can't see a vein on a patient to do an IV if they're working in cardiacs. So they come and get me and say, hey, can you come start this IV? Okay, no problem. And I have no problem helping them out. Or they've already tried and they can't get it. Sure, I'll help them out. I've become that tech, okay, that they can come to because they know I'm very proficient in IVs and I'm very experienced in it and I can almost get anybody. Okay. There's been times where I've missed a few, and that's okay because we all do. Okay. So if you just feel confident and just perfect your skills and just, master your skills, you're going to be that tech. Okay. And then invest in yourself like a fucking boss. So take that seminar, go to, those conferences, get that education, sign up for the ARRT and get those direct readings. Those things are great because I love the ASRT scanner. It's a great thing because I love to read what's going on in our profession. Okay. Get involved in Facebook groups. Make sure education. If your site offers, a lot of vendors will give you free accounts. I know Philips does, GE does, where you can take continuing education and learn some stuff. Okay. And they give you free CEs. Take advantage of them. I know my site, they have a GE account. Trust me, it'll save you every time. Or there's also ERAD imaging where the due is only I think it's now what? 50, 60 bucks a year. That's a year. That's an easy expense. So, and they have some awesome readings that you can do for CE points. Okay. There is another one, Rad CEU Providers. I am a part of that where I actually teach a course. I will link that in the show notes that you can do different types of webinars. You have to listen to the entire webinar. You can't pause it, but then you don't have to do a quiz. They give you the CE credits. It's a great tool to get, all your points in one shot. Okay. So investing in yourself, if you want to go back to school and get a master's degree or learn something else, make sure you invest yourself. Get to know the latest and greatest and stay on top of the trends. I know one great website is auntminnie.com. It gives us all the ins and outs and all the latest and greatest when it comes to radiology, and it has all aspects of it, like all the modalities. Okay. And even for management too, for leadership and things like that. So those are great, resources. There's the Imaging Insider. I came to find out about this because it happened to show up on my feed on Instagram, and they give you some really good resources, and you can get like weekly emails from them as far as all that. There's the Radiology Today. So there are things that you can do to level yourself up and stay on top of what's going on. Okay. If you want to get to that next level status, okay, and that next level training, enroll in the CT Blueprint course and take the next step. This is a crash course. It'll give you everything you need to know as a beginner. Okay. So thank you so much for listening to this episode. I hope this was insightful. Make sure you check out all the links below and join the CT Blueprint today. So thank you for listening to this audio series, and I will catch you next time.